Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing so well today. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Stephanie. I'm on staff here at The Well Austin, and I'm excited to be shooting this video as we continue to be fighting for community together in so many different ways. In fact, that's the very topic that I'm focusing on today, and I'm going to be reading out of Acts chapter 2, verses 42 to 47. It says, "And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved." This is such an incredible passage for me. Even as I'm reading it, I just continue to see the word and, and they were devoted, and they met together, and they had all things, and day by day. And the very first thing that I see out of this passage is the abundance that we have in God and in community together. Here at The Well, we talk a lot about fighting for community. And even that word, fight for community, it is an intense word. It can be seen even as aggressive by some, and it should be aggressive. This is not a passive thing. This is something we want to have vigor with. We want to be aggressively fighting towards one another and fighting away from sin and death and separation, things that keep us apart from one another and apart from God. In this passage specifically, I think that we see a glimpse into the life and the culture, the spirit of the early church. And this is actually happening right on the heels of the story of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit came down and was given to the first believers, that God was there, and all of a sudden, things started changing for them. In this passage, I see four specific things that are focused on. I see teaching, I see a fellowship together, I see breaking bread together, which includes the Lord's Supper, and I see the prayers. And I see those four characteristics of the early church culture and what community looked like for them. Take a second and even pause. What does your life look like in regards to those four specific things? Are you devoting yourself? Are you pursuing teaching, Christian teaching? Whether it's at the well or in your own Bible studies, in your community groups, in your own personal devotions with the Lord, are you pursuing teaching? And are you pursuing it alongside other brothers and sisters? That's what it says that they were doing together. It also says that they were devoting themselves to fellowship. What does that look like for you? How are you walking in agreement and alignment and fellowship with other believers? To the breaking of bread, and that includes the Lord's Supper, but it could also include just sharing meals together, living life together. What does that look like for you? And then to the prayers, and just praying together and interceding alongside one another, lifting up our church and our leadership and our nation, and confessing to one another, praying for one another. What does that look like for you? And what happens? What seems to follow that whole section? Amazing things follow in this passage. It talks about there being miracles that were happening, signs and wonders done through the apostles. It talks a lot about unity, about how they were together all the time, about how they were connected physically, spiritually, relationally, mentally. They had the same mind. It talks about how they cared for one another, about how they sold their possessions to take care of one another, provide for one another, and how they had joy, that they had glad hearts, that they were praising God, that they had favor with all the people. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that those groupings of things were connected. The fellowship, the prayer, the pursuing teaching were connected to joy and provision and unity and wonders being happened. I think that a lot of this hinges on where it says that awe in verse 43. Awe came upon every soul. Another translation, it talks about the fear of God came upon them. For us believers, for the believers in this passage, fear of God is a reverence. It's a respect. It's seeing how powerful and good he is, and yet how he draws us close to him. How they were marked by the difference of their lives after Pentecost, after the Spirit of God came upon them. And they lived different lives and they experienced beautiful treasures on earth through community with one another. So what does this look like for you? I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. Think about that for your own life. Are you pursuing these things within community? Are you fighting with others towards teaching, towards fellowship, towards living life together, towards praying together and for one another? And are you seeing these amazing things happen in your life? Are you loving and fearing God together and encouraging other people to do so? God has such amazing promises for us. He has an amazing life for us. We see that in this passage, the first real glimpse of Christian community. Do you have that? Do you fight for that? Join us as we fight for that together. I love you guys. I hope you have the rest of a good week. See you later.